Welcome to the Fans Perspective Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Again, we appreciate everyone watching, tuning in. And this is our first episode of the year. Chris, how you feeling, brother?
I'm excited, man. We're in the new year, bringing the podcast over to the new year. We're excited to be in front of you, Hoop fans. Appreciate you all always tapping in and commenting, liking, subscribing. Keep doing that. We need the engagement.
Yes, please. More engagement this year from us. So continue to like, comment, subscribe, as Chris said. And we'll keep the comment rolling for you. Keep the content rolling for you all. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump into some stuff that's happening in the NBA right now. We got a super hot topic, Chris, with Trae Young is in trade rumors. So not even really a rumor. This is now official. Reports have gone out that over the past 2 weeks, Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks have been discussing potential trade targets for him in landing spots. You know, there's been a few different teams that have gone out there. I've heard Minnesota, Wizards, Milwaukee. So you have some good teams that are in the mix. I just think contractually they're going to have to figure some things out. Because I believe right now Trey is at like 45.
I think he's at 45, yeah.
About 45 mil. So I know that's going to be a little difficult for some teams to get those contracts moved. But nonetheless, I think Trae is a phenomenal player that just needs a different scenery, right? He's led his team to the Eastern Conference before in the playoffs, Eastern Conference Finals to be exact. And yeah, I just think it's just this team doesn't fit his playing style and just kind of the construction what they have going on. But what's your thoughts, man, on this Trae Young trade talk, and where do you think he may end up landing?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts, but first I'll address the obvious, which was we talked about this a few weeks ago, and we anticipated that this would eventually come to pass, especially as we got closer and closer to the trade deadline and All-Star week. And him being out, I think, allowed for the coaching staff and for the front office to have an opportunity to reevaluate the roster and to see what they had, especially as Jalen Johnson continued to emerge. I mean, he's practically averaging a triple-double right now, and I don't know if he would have had that level of production if Trae was still in. And they've had some success with him being out. I think they've been 16-13. Or 15-13 without Trae and 2-8 with Trae.
Yeah.
And so stylistically, there are just some things that they are more capable and have greater bandwidth to do in terms of being able to switch 1 through 5, getting out in transition, holding the teams to one shot. All of those things have benefited the entirety of that roster and some of those ancillary guys who usually don't get an opportunity to play.
Agreed.
And so I think now that they've seen that, it has created a vision for what the future could potentially hold with a Jalen Johnson-led team.
Who's on a discount? Who's on a crazy discount for
crazy discount right now? And if you're a smart front office, you want to take full advantage of that before he becomes a max eligible player. And so, and Trae Young is still a very valuable trade asset. He's a guy who is a career 20-10 guy who's always contending for the assist leader in the league year in and year out, typically as a perennial all-star. And so he still can be a huge value to another team.
Absolutely. And like to your point, I think with the Hawks, they had the opportunity to see what the roster potentially could look like in the future. And you have to, again, take advantage of a Jalen Johnson who's on, I think he had a 5-year extension that is super cheap. In comparison to what these guys are going to get during that next time span. You have Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who's playing phenomenal basketball as well, which I knew he would take a leap once he left Minnesota because he just played his role. And guys get the opportunity, as we saw with Denver the other night. Peyton Watson, incredible performance. The rest of those team and guys stepped up with everyone out. But I think the Hawks don't have a terrible roster. And now you're going to give yourself leeway once you get rid of Trae to then jump into free agency and say, hey, who can we get? Who can we try to have a really strong push for in free agency? And I think that is going to be huge for them moving forward.
I agree.
So I think they can figure out something that's going to work well on both ends, on both sides of the spectrum. But I personally, bro, I wanted to address some of the Trae Young slander that has been going out. So we were talking before we jumped on, and everyone has this discourse about Trae and he just like, oh, he's not good anymore. He's not this. He's not that. I'm like, so one, we are praising Cade for what he's doing, but we're having, and you and I, we had this conversation about Cade. Cade is not playing next to any All Stars right now, and Cade is in
Right.
year 4. Trae Young also didn't play next to any All Stars while in Atlanta, and also led his team to the Eastern Conference Finals. So it is going to be very hard for us to, and it's very hard for me to sit here and talk about Trae Young and say he's not this, he's not that, when he has yet to have the level of production that he needs to really compete in that
Mm-hmm.
environment that he doesn't have. We could have this same conversation about Cade if they don't perform well this year and they're leading in the Eastern Conference for this regular season. Because now, what if Cade gets bumped in the first round or second round? Then what are we going to say? And he does the same thing next year. Then what's the conversation? What is that
Right.
discourse? And to be quite frank, their stats in year 4 almost
Pretty
identical.
similar.
I'm looking, so Trae Young, that 2021-22 season, 28 points, basically 10 assists, and from the field, 3-point percent, basically 40% from the field, 46%. K, literally, when I tell you, averaging, same thing, 26 points, 9.7 assists, a little bit less from the 3-point, which of course is warranted, 34%, 46% from the field.
Mm.
And they both averaging. Cade is averaging 4 turnovers. Trae Young averaged 4 turnovers that same season. But we're
Mm.
saying that Trae Young turns the ball over. They have the ball so much, and there's no one else for them to give the ball to
It's
often.
the byproduct, yeah, of that usage.
You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to just kind of mention that because I don't like how people have tried to push this narrative on Trae Young's name. And honestly, I think he is wanting to be more of a willing passer. I think he's a passer at heart. Like him,
For
Ja, I
sure.
think those guys are much better if you can place guys next to them to where they can be facilitators first and score second because they're still very dynamic in the scoring.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you put Trae Young with the Houston Rockets, if you're able to pair him with Kevin Durant, Sengun, and potentially if you can keep a Jabari Smith, that spacing, you think Trae Young's not going to now hit open threes? You think he can't be in the pick and roll with Sengun with a pick and pop or pick and roll? Like, because now you have to respect that when a man is
And he's
in the
still gonna
point
create
guard
gravity.
position, when a man in the point guard position, you can't, you're not respecting it in the pick and roll situation with him being
Right.
the shooter. You're not respecting it. You don't have Fred VanVleet who will take that shot from 35 feet
That's a
anymore.
fact.
But I'm interested to see, man, how this plays out. Again, I know we both were high on Trae Young. We want to see him thrive, and I also think Atlanta just needs this opportunity to see what they can be with Jalen Johnson. I know there's talks also about him saying, "Well, hey, he's not Trae Young. He hasn't been able to prove it." But again, this is the risk you take. You've paid him. He is showing the potential right now. Like he's actually showing you what he can do very consistently. So continue to develop. That's what you have a player development staff
Yep.
for. You have coaches to help work him and make him be the system, and you work around it. So I'm interested to see what happens. Do you
And
think
before
there's a
we
landing spot that you want to see him go to?
Well, before we get into the landing spots, I did want
Mm-hmm.
to piggyback off of what you were kind of saying just about the discourse because I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
especially within the past maybe 5 years, there feels like there's a virality around social
Mm-hmm.
discourse in basketball that drives and feeds to what sometimes could be very really ridiculous hot takes just for the sake of us having something to talk about. And I
Yeah.
think Trey has kind of been wrapped up in that whirlwind of viral hot
Let's
takes.
throw him
And
in the conversation.
yeah, I mean, and it's always happens. I think it happened with Kyrie when he was going through his
In
circumstances.
Brooklyn.
So,
Yeah.
but not to harbor too much on what Trey Young is, the conversation around Trey Young. There were a few landing spots that I thought that we could explore.
Mm-hmm. What you
So
got?
for
What you think?
well, for starters, and this is one that I didn't particularly love, but it has been mentioned just around the trade discourse regarding Trey Young. The idea of just a direct swap between him and John Morant.
I
Financially,
actually saw that somewhere.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I most recently saw, I think Richard Jefferson maybe make mention of it.
Okay.
Just in ESPN's, trade talk,
Yeah, just talking
one
about
of
it.
their sessions, and it wasn't something that I initially had thought about. I don't necessarily love the idea of Ja Morant in Atlanta or Trae Young in Memphis, but I understand the idea of just making a direct swap.
Yeah, one for one.
Financially, it
Yeah,
works. Yeah, and I do think both guys are in need of just new scenery.
yeah.
So that certainly could be a trade option
It's an
that
option.
Atlanta
Yeah,
could explore.
yeah.
The second one was one that you and I kind of poked around a bit a few weeks ago, which was the idea of trading Trae Young to Detroit in return for Tobias Harris, Marcus Sasser, and Jaden Ivey.
And I think Jaden is somebody who needs a change of scenery as well.
I would agree.
Like
I would agree. I
he
think
needs to be
prior
on the
to
ball a
his
little bit.
Yep.
That injury.
Prior to his injury, I think he had showcased his two-way ability and potential. And then obviously after the injury, Cade really took off. They drafted Asar, and he stepped in and provided them some of the minutes that and some of the things that Jaden used to provide prior
Yeah,
to them drafting Asar. And so I think, yeah, he could certainly be somebody who's in need of a new environment and could potentially be
agree.
great coming off the bench right behind Nikhil Alexander Walker.
I'm not mad at that.
And then the last two trade ideas are centered around the fact that these two teams need a point guard. The first team being the Miami Heat. Now, I've been wanting to pair a superstar or a all-star level talent with Bam Adebayo for the longest because I think that he's deserving, especially of
Bam is
having a
pissing me off,
complimentary
bro.
guard.
Bam is
I
pissing
know,
me
but he
off.
does so much of what he provides. So much of what he provides Miami, he has to do on his own. That I think it becomes exhaustive, especially within a system that can often feel very rigid from the outside looking in.
Yeah.
One of the more conservative franchises in the league. But the idea of potentially swapping Trae Young for Tyler Hero and Fontecchio,
I'm not mad at that at all.
financially it works. It allows Tyler Hero to step into a new environment where he also could potentially be an even greater vocal point of the offense than maybe what he is now. I haven't watched Miami, but I know that he's still
Hawks may fit his
secondary.
playing style better. The Hawks
That's
may
what
be
I'm
able to
thinking
play
too.
a bit faster, a bit more like let's just get it and go. And Jalen Johnson can play a point
Yeah.
forward, so that actually may work pretty well. I didn't think about Miami when it came to trading that. That's actually that's not bad because then maybe Trey opens up and creates this better opportunity for guys like Bam and Powell and other
Andrew
players on that team.
Wiggins,
So
yep.
that's
And
not
then
bad.
there's no telling what else Miami might be able to achieve during the offseason.
It's
It's just
just
going to
are
be
they
a
going
huge
to?
free agent market. Yeah,
It's
if
are
they're
they
going to
going to
spend
do
the money.
anything?
Right, yeah. Miami could be a little reserved. Pat Riley, he
Yeah,
moves like Warren Buffett in his approach to, adding
yeah,
trade capital. But typically he's making good decisions when he does. And so I'm
of
sure if
course.
they do go out and start fishing for, a big fish over the offseason that they'll land the
Yeah.
Barracuda they're looking for. And then the last trade idea was swapping Trae Young for Jalen Green and Kaman Malawak in Phoenix.
In Phoenix, yeah. I think Devin Booker needs that. I think Booker's going to, and I know we'll get to Book in a second. Like that makes perfect sense because I'm still not sold on Jalen Green being there. I know he hasn't played much, so we haven't been able to see him. So I don't want to say
Right.
he's a bad fit. But because we know that Trey is a true point guard, and you want to keep Book off the ball so Book can be naturally in his scoring position. And Book has also learned that point guard position over these past couple of years because of just the way the roster has been constructed. I think you got a perfect 1-2 punch. And I would trust a veteran guy like Trae Young who has been there, who's done it at a high level, similar to Devin Book. I would like that pairing a lot better than having that in Jalen Green. So, ooh, I haven't seen Phoenix in the trade talks either, but that's
And I think when
they can make
Atlanta
that
gets
work.
back, and I think when Atlanta gets back, it's still useful. If I'm not mistaken, I want to say Porzingis is on an expiring contract.
He is. If not, it may be like a couple of years, but he's close. He's close to it. He's close to it.
Okay. So
Like someone
obviously,
would be willing to take on that contract.
So if you can move on from Porzingis, you bring in Kamal Malawak, somebody that you can
Mm,
develop internally, and then you add Jalen Green, who could be an immediate starter. I think you're still getting
mm,
some valuable back.
yeah. And then hopefully that if you do get KP, that you can keep him on a discount once that contract is up because he's no longer going to get that 30 million or 30
Yeah, the
plus that he's
demand
getting
is
now.
right, right.
Yeah, he's not getting it anymore. So, those, bro, those were some. Hopefully, some of these teams they watch this episode because I think those are some valuable trade options that are on the table that can happen. I
So
hope
yeah,
they
we'll
can
have to
work it
keep a
out
close
where it
eye.
makes sense for both. I hope they move the needle where it can make sense for both sides. You mentioned some teams that bro, I didn't think about because the other team I was thinking about that we mentioned we attached Ja to that team was Milwaukee because
Yep.
I would love to see somebody that can be in the true pick and roll with Giannis. I don't, I don't. It's not. I don't think Dame wasn't the guy for that team because he's not a pick and roll guy. He's
Right.
picking. I'm scoring. I'm not looking to pass his ball first. So having a guy like Trey or John in that system, I think would likely flourish. I saw Minnesota in those talks, but I don't think
I
that
saw that too. And
it doesn't
financially,
make
it just doesn't
sense.
work.
Yeah, financially, it doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. Like you're not taking on Rudy contract. I think he has 3 more years on his contract, and what is Atlanta
Yep.
going to do with that? And then there's no one else in that roster. You're not getting rid of Jaden McDaniels.
Or Nas Reed.
Even Nas contract is not enough, so you have to pair Nas with someone else. Now you're losing more people, and then even Julius Randle contract isn't up there. I think he's only at like 30 million or something like that. So
Yep. Yep.
it's going to be very, very difficult to make those pairings. But yeah, man, we're going to have to keep a close eye on those trades. But from what you just mentioned, I would either like to see the Phoenix one or the Miami one. I just only my
That's what I
only
was leaning towards.
is just the Miami one. I don't know if how likely that is to happen because I don't even know when I've really seen them aggressive since LeBron, and that was free agency. That wasn't like trade. I can't even tell
And
you when
even
I'm
that
like I've seen them
was
get aggressive on the trade deadline.
and even that, to my knowledge, was kind of led by the players.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it was
Mm-hmm.
LeBron, D Wade, and Chris Bosh who really orchestrated that more than it sounded like it was Pat
The
Riley.
front office. Yeah. And they've had so many players attached. Like I know Brendan Ingram was attached to them for a
Uh,
long time, and then ended up in Toronto, which I would have loved to see Brendan Ingram in Miami. I think he fits their
Dame
system
Lillard was another one
perfect. Dame was
prior to the
attached to
Milwaukee
them for a
trade.
long time. He kept saying, "Out." We all knew he wanted to go to Miami. Just didn't happen. So I don't know, but it works contractually on both sides. But again, we want to see Trey end up in the right spot, and Jalen Johnson, a young guy, to see what he can thrive and what he can turn into over there in
Yep.
Atlanta. So, so mentioning Phoenix, another topic that I know we want to discuss was speaking about Devin Booker, his game winner the other night, and then we'll jump into
Hmm.
what KD he got to get his revenge back against that Suns team. But Devin Booker, man, he's playing well. I think the Suns are at least in contention to try to get into that playoff spot. I think they're 7 right now, if I'm not mistaken, and they're doing that without their second best player that they got over the summer in with Jalen Green.
Green, right.
What is your thoughts? Because there was a lot of discourse around Devin Booker and why are they paying him the super max? And I don't know if the fans' minds have been teeter with because of how we've built super teams in the past. I'm like, that's not going to work. He's taking all the money. But I'm like, this is a very unique and different situation that not even really different and unique. I just think it feels more like the ball we grew up watching. Like you have a Kobe who's on
Right.
his team and you can tell
Right.
he's loyal.
It's a great analogy.
He is there. He means something to that community. He means something to that organization. I think Devin Booker's going to retire a Phoenix Sun.
I would
If he
agree.
doesn't, I think it's going to be his choice, and they will send him wherever he wants to go. Stephen Curry is going to retire a Golden State Warrior, and even without Devin Booker having winning any championships or anything like that, he's brought them some success, and he
Mm.
has been a bright and shining point for that organization. He's going to lead every single category. Like I want him to break every single record that there is in Phoenix. But do you think we'll start to see more guys kind of take this route if you're playing on a team and you're being successful, the community loves you. because we've also seen that it's not guaranteed to win a championship no matter how that roster looks, i.e. you had KD and Bradley Beal and it didn't work. But do you think we'll start to see that more often with guys moving forward?
I definitely think that you're on to something. I think that it'll start to become more of a trend where guys will prioritize quality of life over the pursuit of just um,
Yes.
getting max super max contracts and or playing in high profile cities. Phoenix is a moderate size city with a moderate media ecosystem, um, but it has a very intimate fan base. And in those kind of environments, you can create a great life for yourself, man.
That's what you want. You want fans who actually, if
Right?
you can go out to a grocery store, they're like, "Hey, Devin Booker, we love you," and let you go about your business.
Who doesn't want that? While I'm also
Hmm.
still having the luxury of making 200 plus $1 million.
Yeah,
And so I think Devin Booker will serve as an example for this generation of how you prioritize still being competitive and still driving a competitive franchise. Because let's not forget, he did make a finals appearance 3 years ago, 4 years ago,
3 or 4. Yep. Hmm.
21. So, and I think he may be the only person left from that championship roster.
He is. Yep. Hmm.
Right. And so that speaks greater volumes to him being able to manage the things that are outside of his control
Yep.
than it does to what he should be doing more of. Like, I don't think
Agree.
you know, the issue should be with what Devin Booker is or isn't doing. The issue should be with what the organization has failed to do over the course of
Correct.
his tenure there. So I would love to see more guys stick with a franchise, build that. I hope Victor and maybe Dylan or Stefan, whichever of them, I hope, or if not all three, can stick with that franchise for the duration of their career. I hope that we start to
Yeah.
see this become a reoccurring trend.
Like Cade, I want to see Cade stay in
Cade's another
Detroit,
one.
man. Stay in Detroit. Shea, stay in OKC. Like
And stay in
let's
Minnesota.
get stay in Minnesota. Let's just get to this point because now these are your rosters, and it is going to be up to the front office to build around you all. Like, I even want to give the Suns credit because though they had that, I think that Bradley Beal deal was horrible. That badly crippled and bottlenecked that roster. But also, they put together some solid rosters before then with Chris Paul and
Right.
Mikal Bridges, and they drafted well. And you got to give them credit because they've been placed in a position to get there. And there's going to be ebbs and flow with the franchise, right? You don't want it to happen, especially under your watch as a superstar player in Devin Booker, but it happens nonetheless. And I want to give Devin Booker his credit and his flowers because he has not complained not once. He goes out there, he competes, he doesn't complain about the roster, and he gives loves and credit to everyone who has came and gone on that team, whether it's been a coach, a player. He still loves KD, but Booker to me is the ultimate player. We know the infamous comment that he said about playing the USA basketball. Like, I'll do it. No, this I think Kyle
Mhm.
Kuzma asked, like, he made a Twitter, like, who's gonna be that guy who's gonna rebound, pass, assist, do the dirty work, and Devin Booker's like, me. And that's who he is. So why would you want to give up a player like that? Why would he want to leave? So Devin Booker, to me, in my opinion, man, he's gonna be a son for life. And credit to him, he deserves it.
Yeah, he does deserve it. He does
I had
deserve it.
saw he did a stream with Speed, and I saw his like he got like a car garage or something like this, like a shoe garage, car garage. And I
Bro.
said, yeah. I saw somebody comment say, yeah, forget that championship ring. I'm staying in Phoenix.
Yeah, he got the ring.
You
Did you
got it
see the
already, bro.
garage?
You got it already. But kind of to stay along what we were talking about with like the Suns and roster construction.
Hmm.
KD, Houston went into Phoenix went to Houston and KD got his game winner. They beat Phoenix to get
Yep.
his revenge game back. And KD made an interesting comment saying that kind of felt like he was a scapegoat of that team. And I
Mm.
was like commenting on different polls, Bleach Report, Sideline, right? And I saw a lot of the same stuff where most people felt that, you know what, Katie, this wasn't your fault. Like, we all were looking at the front office, blaming them for adding Bradley's bill contract. And I know people blaming Bradley. Bradley didn't sign them contracts. It's not his fault that they traded for him. Like,
Right.
that's not Bradley Beal's fault at all. Injuries, those things happen. It's unfortunate. But you all knew he had injury history before you signed him, and you knew how competitive and how deep rosters were on that Western Conference. So you needed to have a more deeper roster to compete, and they just
Yep.
didn't have that. So to that point, do you think there needs to be a bit more blame on front office more than players? Because of course we look at a player like Cade and his caliber and say, hey, whatever team you're on, the expectation is for you to go to the playoffs and win it all, right? That is expectation.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I do believe that there has to be some criticism that comes with front office because it is still a team game no matter how you want to cut it. It's still a team game, and you need the right players around superstars, role players. You need the right
Yep.
players in general to make it far and deep into the playoffs. History has shown itself, right? But do you think there needs to be some more blame that goes into the front office versus just always saying whoever's a star player on the team, they're getting a bulk of that blame?
I think you're absolutely right. And again, I
Yeah.
think this goes back to the virality of media narratives. Because it was the media, and I can't pinpoint what media platform pushed the narrative that Katie was the problem, but it became a viral narrative that fans then ran with and drove additional discourse to, when in reality that front office and that organization had been in disarray for years.
Yeah.
They had a change of ownership. They lost.
Mm-hmm.
They let go of Monty Williams the year after he took them to an
And that
NBA
was like the
championship.
situation. Yeah, that was like the situation.
You let go of basically the entire core of the championship roster that took you there the years prior. You bring in a $45 million a year two guard to pair with a two guard
Yeah.
and another primary scorer in KD, and thought that that was going to make sense. No,
And it's
yeah,
like
I'm not
you saw the
faulting.
formula that you had that once. Like, why would you break that up? It was almost similar to when the Lakers went and won. Then you broke that whole team up.
You deviated away from what worked and
Mm-hmm.
thought that by recreating a wheel that you were going to get a different set of results, and you did, but the results you got were worse. You went backwards.
They saw
So
that
no, I
shiny
don't fault
trophy.
KD. Yeah, but and what evidence did a team like San Antonio have to construct a roster this way to believe that that was going to be a championship contending roster? What other rosters do you see around the league that feature two ball dominant scorers in an
Oh, I know what it
aging?
was. They saw Brooklyn. But here's the problem, and this is why again, teams like everybody can't emulate what another team is doing if you
No,
don't have the personnel. Like people forget, yes, you had James, Kyrie, and KD, but James is a point guard. Like Bradley Beal and Booker are not point guards, so it's not like I know some was like, man, we can get Bradley Beal. You're thinking about the scoring aspect of it, but like you are not thinking about the distribution of the ball. Now the ball's not moving at all. And we saw Bradley Beal complain about like I'm only getting shots like right here, right there, because you
sure
don't have a
does.
guy like James Harden. Like, and again, James Harden deserves a ton of credit than
Yep.
what he is than what he's been dealt out. Like he is a point guard, he's a scorer. Like James Harden has adapted to every single environment he's been in, every single one. And I know the Suns saw that and said, "Oh yeah, perfect. We got three scores. It's gonna work." No,
No. Yeah, that's that. That's not
no,
that's not the recipe for a championship contending team,
no.
right?
And
It
this
certainly
is
can't
kind
be the
of
sole recipe.
no, it can't. And this is a little off topic, but I was also I was talking to my guy about Houston and how they were trying to like compete with Golden State. And you know what? I said I think that probably would have been the first time where like taking a style of from what another team was doing similarly. But oh my God, who was the coach at the time in Houston? Was that Dan Tony? Who was the coach?
Yes.
Like he had kind of already he implemented that system, which again to me still looked similar to what Kerr and what they were doing in the Warriors. But that was the first thing that I feel like could have almost taken another system and it worked, but it kicked them in the back so bad because the defense wasn't there. The same defense wasn't there in the postseason that I feel like they could have used that the Warriors had. But it still haunts me to the day because I was really rooting for Houston. But they missed like 27 threes.
Yes.
Like you never
Yes, in the
thought
second
once to
half. Yep.
take, you never thought once to say, let me get to the cup, let me get a layup. Because they didn't lose by much. But
But
20,
this
that's
is
a lot of, oh man,
but see
that's a lot
that's the
of missed
problem,
threes.
or this is one of the problems though with the NBA now is that there's no diversity and there's no parity.
Copycat.
Right? Yeah, and it has always traditionally been a copycat league, but at least,
Mm.
you know, back in the day, there was a greater balance between the eye test and the analytics,
Mhm.
right? Whereas now there is an abundance of analytically driven franchises and organizations who, you know what I mean, are only and solely making decisions within the context of what the analytics say.
Yeah.
And just because the
And that
analytics
can't
say
be your
you can,
driving force. That can't be only driving force.
no, it can't. It can't, man. And I think that's like a real issue throughout the league and throughout roster construction.
And I wonder how those conversations are. And I know we'll have some front office members that'll come on the show here, especially as we start to get into All Star break and closing out the year. But I wonder, like, what is the ratio on how much they rely on analytics versus eye test what you're seeing as a coach, a leader, and saying, hey, like, here's what we want to try to push out. Let's see if this works. But I also understand how hard that may be if the numbers is telling you one thing, but you also got to look at the results because that's always going to be a fine line of where
Gotta
you're
vote.
teetering with those numbers in because there are certain numbers that you want to use that as your benchmark and your foundation, but there's also moments where like those numbers need to go out the window
Yeah,
and
and
just use your
sometimes you just,
basketball IQ and your eye
yep.
test and let that be your driving force. So it has to be a good balance, in my opinion. So um, another hot topic that I know we want to address, bro, is one. There's been a lot of news in college basketball, like with
Yeah,
Baylor and
yep,
I forgot the kid. Is it Najee?
yep. James Najee.
Najee with what they're doing, and then to him, he didn't do anything wrong. Like he's not
Right.
breaking any rules, but the NCAA rules and how that's structured, we all feel like it is just not fair. And it's not just with college basketball; it's football. And I'm pretty sure it's other sports. But I think NCAA definitely has some work and some digging to do. But something I wanted us to address, man, is the pay disparity,
Right.
right? And it's kind of to that point with you're saying where he entered the draft and played in the summer league, but didn't really play anything like meaningful. But I find it odd that like we have a development league. We briefly mentioned about what the Denver Nuggets did the other night. Basically, all those guys who were playing against the 76ers full team, all those guys played in the G League. Now, my issue is that these guys who played in the G League, you just beat a very, very good team in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
But you have these guys, if you're not on a two-way contract, because those two-way contract guys could be making about 600,000, something like that. But if you're just on the G League roster, you're making what 45, 50,000.
Yeah, on average.
But and then you look at Duke's basketball roster that spends about 8 to 12 million. So each player, like, what you think Cam Boozer's making?
Mm. That gotta at least be a $4 billion kid, at least.
And to not even talk about just him, Isaiah Evans, who is a good player, who will probably be in the draft this year, he's probably making 1.3. So you mean to tell me that guys on a collegiate level, and now you
This
are
is
kind of
crazy,
entering
man.
in this space where this is a professional, it's no longer
Right.
amateur, it's a professional basketball league, but that the guys in the G League can't have a higher pay. I think that's going to be a conversation that has to happen. But what's your thoughts on that pay disparity between like the G League and college contracts and how everyone's getting paid now?
None of the money makes sense to me. Let me say that.
Agreed.
The way that we
In general.
evaluate, yeah, 17, 18, and 19-year-old athletes at the collegiate level who have, to some extent, sometimes no experience or very little experience when they transfer or when they come into college. The valuations to me just don't add up. I understand. Obviously, they drive a significant amount of revenue for the program. But it doesn't always feel like the money that they receive matches the production from an individual standpoint, right? So, with all due respect to Isaiah Evans, what does a $1.3 million college basketball player look like?
Yeah.
What are your shooting splits supposed to be? What are your efficiency numbers supposed to be? How many games are you expected to play? Right? Because I'm also assuming that there are the NIL contracts that they receive, are they guaranteed if you get hurt? And if so,
Probably.
we need to
I
have a
don't think they're
conversation
losing
around
anything.
that.
Yeah. Because now you are a professional athlete. Should there be certain restrictions in your contract, such as Zion Williamson, if you're not at a certain weight, like
Right.
should those things be placed into your contract?
And so, I mean, those are just some of the questions that I have. The G League salaries to me have always been underwhelming. I never really followed why. I get it. They are developmental professional athletes, but they're much closer to being NBA players than college players seemingly were.
My point is that
Right? Because those were supposed to be amateurs. Right? These are developing professionals, almost entry level would be the analogy I would make. And so now I guess the only pushback that the NBA could give is that their season is only 5 months.
yeah.
And so if you were working year round, you might be making closer to maybe 85, 90,000 a year. But for 5 months of work, you get 40K. I mean, that's a little under 10 grand a month. When when you put it in that type of context.
But it
But
should be comparable to the salaries that are in the NBA.
right.
Like,
Because
like to a
again, you
degree,
are
like
closer to
something
being an
has to
NBA player.
match. My point exactly, because even the NBA season isn't all year long, right?
That's
Especially if
actually
you're
the
not making
point.
the playoff stuff like that. But like there still needs to be like a better scale because what if these guys are saying, hey, like I may not be able to be on this team this next year. Like, but again, because if you're saying this is a development league, then more than likely, I need to use this league to actually get better. So that means, okay, I want to have the money to be able to pour into training, to pour into this, to do this and do that. Like now, fortunately, now on the flip side of it, if these guys are coming in from college, now you got some money in your pockets. So
That's true.
they probably got a little more leeway. So that's probably the excuse you can get away with now. But to me, it's still flipped in the wrong. It's still flipped in the wrong way.
And you know what, too, though? Maybe this also should open up the conversation around, well, are we actually paying for basketball talent? Because now we need to have a conversation about entertainment in the game, right? Because G League is not entertaining.
I'm about to say it's not entertainment
It's
at all.
pure basketball.
Yo, that's it.
So, how much of the NBA is actually oriented around entertaining us versus showcasing high level basketball?
Yeah.
Because there could be there's an argument that certainly can
That's
be
fair.
made that there are G League games that constitute high level basketball. I'm sure that there are games where guys have teams are, have less than 10 turnovers per half. Guys are scoring over 100 points, efficiency
Getting
numbers over
to
50%.
it, playing defense
It's
every play.
good basketball, right? So what's the difference between high level basketball played by a secondary professional and okay basketball that's highly entertaining from a high level professional? I think that's really where the conversation exists.
But college is where, because also now, to your exact point, bro, that's where the money is. Like those kids are filling those arenas. I just saw I'm so mad I couldn't go, but I had watched the SMU versus UNC game because it was here in Dallas. They filled that arena up.
And see, now universities are also driving private equity interest. Right? And so now you're talking about using college athletics as an investment vehicle.
Yeah.
And so the orientation around college sports as a whole has changed. And so it makes it really difficult to even have conversations around how do we justify valuation and salary. You know, if James Najee, who was drafted a couple years ago, played in the G League, if he was good enough to be drafted,
Play summer league.
then why would he be? Why would he need to be playing college basketball? What are
How
we?
does he go backwards? What's the point? What purpose
What
does
are
it
we?
serve?
Thank you.
To go
Mo.
back and
What
re-enter the
purpose
draft
is this
again?
serve?
So
Because
you can let him re-enter the draft after he was picked in the first round as a 31st pick. So you're saying, okay, you can go back and increase your draft stock to where, okay, now what you think he's gonna go back and be the number one pick? Is
he's going
that
to be a
fair?
better player now because he's
Like
older, playing with younger players
I said, oh,
in a less
and
competitive
that's where
environment.
that's to me where it gets sticky. So I'm like, I've seen some analysts talking about like he didn't do anything wrong. I said, I get it, he didn't do anything wrong. But like, let's look at the integrity of the game. How does this look? Like, put all of the rules say. I don't care what the rules say at this point. Like, how does that look? What are we saying
Yeah,
about college sports? Like, does it care about high school kids anymore? Are we just gonna have 26-year-olds playing college basketball?
mm. And
Because
what? Yeah, and what
What
are
if
the?
LeBron retires and just like, you know what? I want to go to
I
Ohio
got
State.
4 years eligibility.
I want to
Why
go.
not?
I don't want to play overseas. I want to go play Ohio State. I can get some money.
Like, what are we
It's
doing?
trash. It's trash. I'm not a fan of it. I think the NCAA has a lot of work to do. It's bad. It's bad on both sides with college football because we got the playoffs coming up for college football,
Mm-hmm.
and I know all those coaches have complained about the schedule with the portal. And this is super off topic, but like they just need to hire Nick Saban to be the
Yeah, they
commissioner
need a
of
commissioner. Yep.
because everything he
And
said
college
has been
basketball
spot
needs one
on.
too.
Man, like because I've seen a lot of stuff from Izzo, from Jay Wright,
Yep.
from Calipari. Like
Bruce
they've all have
Pearl.
said
Yep.
things that makes perfect sense, and I'm like, why are we not listening to these coaches? These are
And
guys
these
who can tell you
suggestions
better than anyone.
and the suggestions are fundamental. If you're over the age of 25, you shouldn't be entering college athletics,
No,
right? 25 is the cap.
hmm
So if I'm 21 and I have from 21 to 25, that's how much eligibility you have.
that's my window.
From 18 to 25, that's how much eligibility you have in terms of age,
hmm
right? But after 25, man, that's it.
Because if not, you're
Dream
gonna let this
deferred.
thing run. You're gonna let this race run way too wild, and it's gonna get out of control. Like you're gonna see a lot of players like, you know what? I'm not going to the G League because I can get paid more as a college player right now.
And I'm just gonna keep
Again,
sticking
we're
around.
talking about the pay disparity. I can leave here for making 45 million and go play 5 months again in college basketball, less
This
games,
is so crazy, man.
and go make 2 million plus.
This is so crazy.
So why would I stay in the G League? So that's why I said I get it. He's following the rules, but it's manipulating the system and it's ruining to me the integrity of the game.
And what now is the value of the G League? What's the value
I
of the
don't
G League
know.
at this point? Right? Because now I'm starting to think, in context of our conversation, if the NBA is starting the new or extending the NBA over to the Euro League, you might as well dissolve the G League and then just redraft G League eligible guys to Euro League teams
Yeah.
where they could just make more money. And now you can stop having guys live in Canton for 6 months traveling to Iowa and Idaho and wherever else they go try to play these dumbass games. You might as well
Yeah.
just go live in Italy, bro, and get paid 100,000 to go play for whatever national team or NBA Italy national will eventually exist. But yeah, the
And
current
really try to
structure
make a
makes no
name for
sense.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it
And
goes
it
back to
seems like
quality of
guys are
life
only
too.
getting caught up from the G League just when guys are getting hurt. It doesn't seem like, hey, we've seen you perform well. We're gonna bring
Right.
you up, and we're gonna let somebody else play less minutes because we've seen your production in the G League. We've seen a ton of
Right.
guys get busy in the G League and not get caught up to the bed
Never
until
make the
somebody gets
transition.
hurt. And it's like,
Yep.
why not? Because to me, if it's truly a development league, if you see someone performing well and you have guys on your current NBA roster that isn't, I'm calling him up, bringing him to my team and say, hey, let's try him out because we got a gap right now in our team and I want to see what this kid can do. Because I don't see that type of aggressiveness with G League guys. It's only like, okay, someone's hurt. Okay, now we need you. That's not
And
development
so,
to me. That's like you're just waiting on something to happen, and then okay, now we're using you.
yeah, that's farming.
That's
That's
just a
just
practice
farming.
squad. That's
Yeah.
like to the NFL point. That is you're just a practice. You're almost just a practice squad player. So I don't know. There's some work to be done on that end
Definitely.
because yeah, to me, there's just an integrity piece that's gonna come into play with that. I just don't like where that is going. A few more things, man. I wanted us to wrap up. Some quick hitters. MVP race is a little bit funky now because you got some injuries, and I know there's been a lot of conversation with the 65 like game rule. And personally, I don't have a problem with it because
Right.
you're always gonna have something that makes people want to say, well, if Joke only played 25 games, but he averaged 40, 20, and 10, are you be comfortable with giving him the MVP because he very well could do so? But are you going to be comfortable with giving him the MVP? So the NBA had to put in some type of rules and restrictions, which I'm perfectly fine with that, right?
Same.
Because Joker, for the most part, has been healthy. It was a freak incident, injury, whatever, bumped into a teammate. And I don't
It
think it's necessarily
happens.
going to ruin his legacy, like, because we know who Joker is. Is he going to miss out on some awards and stuff like that? Maybe. But to the point, how we've done this thing with rings and all these players got this, like we just have to appreciate players for who they are in real time, and we have to do that because again, you can't not have rules and regulations with some of these things because they'll get out of pocket.
Yep.
But two guys who I think now are probably going to front run this race is going to be Shade and Cade. And I think Cade has a really strong case right now.
I agree. I
A
agree.
very, very strong case. I still think Thunder, they're going to be fine if they drop some games, but I just think they're bored at the moment. So I don't really have much to say about OKC. They're waiting on the playoffs. But what are your thoughts, man, with Cade, with what he's doing, not having an all-star on his team in comparison to the roster that Thunder has? Do you think Cade really has a case to win MVP?
Not only does he have a case, I think that what Cade is doing in the performance that both he and Jaylen Brown have been showcasing is the epitome of what an MVP should be delineated as, right?
Yeah.
MVP, most valuable player. Cade is right now his team and any team's most valuable player, right? I don't think there's any other team right now who would have the success that they have, you know what I mean, without a superstar like that. And
Yeah.
Detroit certainly wouldn't be where they are if it wasn't for Cade.
No.
And so for me, I would love to see Cade win the MVP. I think it'd be a great showing for the NBA. I think it'd be a great step in the direction towards creating more parity. And it's good discourse. It's good basketball
Yeah.
discourse. Have the MVP back in Detroit. When was the last time that happened, if ever?
Yeah.
So,
And I think his stats are better. I think his stats are better than Shay's right
because
now.
he's averaging close to a triple double, right?
Yeah. So and Shay's not. So I think the only thing that the Thunder have over Detroit is a couple games.
Yep.
Like I
Both
think
still
they've
number one in
lost.
their conferences.
Yeah, I think Thunder have dropped down to what 7 losses now. And I think Detroit is at 9 losses. So I just
Okay.
think Cade has to continue, and Detroit has to continue to win. Like I think they have to continue to win, they got to be number one in order for him to really be able to get into the MVP conversation. And then he has to close the year out well, because you know how voters get, and we see it all the
That's
time.
true.
It's you can have a stellar
Recency
start to
bias
the
is
season,
everything. Yep.
recency bias, bro. Like if he doesn't close out the season well, then he very much can lose it. So I think that is what's going to have to happen with him in Detroit. They're going to have to close out the season well, and he's going to have to play phenomenal.
And he's
But they're playing
capable
close
of doing
games.
it. Yeah, I think his improvements over the past few close ones has gotten better. Like he's
Yeah.
has become, since we had that conversation about him
Mm-hmm.
finishing and closing games out, he's
Missing
been
them
doing
free
that.
throws. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so it's one of the best NBA marriages.
Yeah.
Is Cade in Detroit,
Yeah.
you know.
I'm a fan of him, man. Like it seems like a lot of people are jumping on the K bandwagon, and I actually didn't jump on the K bandwagon until last year. Like I knew he was a phenomenal player at
Same.
Montverde, like that high school, but to me, sometimes it's always tricky to gauge on guys when you're playing with that talent like that
Right.
on those teams. But the one thing I did always see about K was the intangibles, his attitude, his motivation, like
Mm.
how he carried himself in Detroit. You can tell he's someone like I want to get better. Like you've
Yep.
seen the improvement year over year over year. Um, and like with him, it's almost the same as I put him and like Ant in the same category. He's not as
Hmm.
loud as Ant, but his demeanor, his swagger on the court, the way he moves and the way he hoops, like you can tell he wants it. Like him and Ant are dogs in just different ways. And to me, like what him and Ant have done is what I've expected from Ja. Like I feel
Mm.
like Ja should be that third guy that we should be seeing, like who's taking this leap in. But hopefully Ja gets it together. I've seen the trade rumors kind of die down with Ja. Hopefully they figure that out.
Yeah, same.
But not to get off of K, but K, man, right now, if I'm picking, K's is my number one in the MVP
That's who I
vote.
would lean towards too. Yeah.
And maybe we have recency bias here, and we're just like, but to me, it's I have proof.
In real
It's
time.
his stats are better than
Hmm.
Shay's. He's only down a couple games. You can probably say the Western Conference, their conference is better, but then okay, now let's look at the strength of schedule right now. All right,
Right. Right.
but also it's hard to look at strength of schedule once you get to the A2 year games because then you're just looking at conference. You're looking at Eastern Conference and Western Conference, and you're always going to say the Western Conference is better than the East. So that's like I wonder like what exactly are you all going to look at when you decide this voting? But again, I do think it comes down to how they're playing both at the end of the season and how they close it out.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely
Um,
right.
do you think JB have a shot? I know they're two in the East right now. Do you think they got a chance?
I don't think JB is going to win MVP. I don't know if I don't even think that he'll crack top 3 in voting. And I don't think that's
Mm-hmm.
because he won't have the performance and the statistics to justify it. I think unfortunately he's probably one of the greater victims in the NBA of politics.
Yeah, simple as
It's
it's
really
just
that
as simple
simple.
as that.
You
Yeah.
know, race and sports have always intersected.
Mm-hmm.
And his situation and the relationship that he has with the NBA and with Nike basketball is no different. I
Yeah.
think corporations have always had a reservation about really vocal, really intelligent, and really talented black professionals, regardless of
Yeah.
industry, but especially the vocal ones,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he's vocal. And the shit
And
he
now he's
says makes
streaming
sense.
too. He's streaming now too. So now NBA probably like,
Yeah.
mm-mm.
So I mean, I think that's the only reservation around JB not getting the the consideration that he certainly has justified at this point
Yeah,
of the season.
that's fair. Fair, fair. And we love JB, man. So keep hooping. I think him not getting like that player of the month for December is going to keep fueling him.
Hmm.
And just to kind of, before we get to this last topic, if JT comes back,
Watch out,
we
especially if he comes back healthy,
if he comes back
like
healthy and he's
truly
if
healthy.
he's
Yep.
just then I listen, bro. I'm not going to sit here and say that I wouldn't count them. I wouldn't count them out at all if JT can come back healthy. So, but we'll see.
Woo.
Last topic we got, man. So again, new year
Yeah.
teams probably have a little bit of a new, fresh identity. Like hey, we're going to leave what happened in 2025. We've already kind of seen some different starts for some teams here in 2026, but
Right.
quick hitters, man. Eastern Conference, Western Conference. What is a team or team that you feel like are going to stay that may heat up, or a team that you think may cool down?
Okay. So the two teams that I think will continue to either stay on the heater that they're currently on, or will extend the heater that they're on, or start to heat up. First, Boston. Kind of
Okay.
circling back to with JB, the way he's
Okay.
performed, the opportunity of JT potentially coming back and coming back healthy. I
Hmm.
think that some of the new guys that they've added to the roster have started to find themselves, started to find their footing. They're building more chemistry
Yeah.
with the guys who had been on that roster from the previous seasons.
Yeah.
Guys like Peyton Pritchard, who've had to now step into starting roles, have done it with grace. And I'm going to continue to believe in Joe Mazzulla. There's a handful of coaches in the league who,
Excellent coach.
regardless of who they have on their roster, I believe in their coaching ability and their acumen, and Joe Mazzulla is one of those
Hmm.
guys. So I expect for Boston to continue to be really competitive and to finish potentially in the top five in the Eastern Conference standings.
Yeah.
Like I think they can make that kind of push. Um, and then the second
Man, that's
team
crazy.
that
I
I
had Boston. I got them cooling down.
okay, well share more.
I think they've been. I don't even think it's anything in particular. I just think like Jalen is playing phenomenal, and I know the way he's playing. I think that's a lot on one player on what he's
Hmm.
doing. So that is the only reason why I think he. Not saying he's going to take a backseat or anything like that, but I just think the fatigue. I think teams are going to start playing them differently going into All Star
It's a lot of
break.
weight to carry.
And I think they'll have a slight cool down. I think they'll probably going into All Star break maybe at 4 or 5. But that's
Right.
pretty much it. So see what happens.
Okay. Second team I had to keep going and to stay hot was Houston.
Okay.
Uh,
That is also where I had to kind of pick it up.
okay. So,
So we
Houston,
equal on that one.
man, Houston is a team, one of the few teams in the league that I think statistically they're just as impressive from the analytics as they are from the eye test.
Yeah.
They're third in the league in offensive rating. They're sixth in the league in defensive rating. I think they're still first in rebound percentage and rebounds per game.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Ume Udoka is another coach that I really believe in. I love the kind of culture that he builds and the way that the kind of imprint he puts on his players. You can tell that those guys have bought into the identity that he's developed there. And
Mm-hmm.
I expect Houston to also compete for top three in the West when it's
Mm-hmm.
as we get closer to the playoff push. So that was my second team. Who'd
Word.
you have?
So Houston and Timberwolves were my teams in the West that I feel like is going to heat up. So to your
Nice.
point
Okay.
with Houston, I just think that they're playing some. I think they have figured out how they need to play winning basketball a little bit more consistently because even their losses to me just look like their losses they could have won those games.
Yeah, they're
And
close.
now I feel like it looks like those games that were like they would have normally lost. It's like we know the way to win this game now. So I
Mm.
do think they'll pick it up. Minnesota, they've won some pretty good games. I think Minnesota is figuring some things out. Hopefully, I think they just have to rely on their defensive identity. If they can do that, I think a lot of them will start to come back into form. But those are my two teams in the West. I think will heat up.
Okay.
And unfortunately, in the East, I think Philadelphia is going to catch a stride. They
Wow.
lost. They
Interesting.
lost a really nasty game against Denver, but I think Tyrese Maxey's great. I think he's great turning back up. He started the season
Okay.
off really hot, but I feel
He
like he
did.
took too much of a back seat and trying to figure out this lineup with Joel and Paul George. But if he gets aggressive and they really still kind of play the ball, they play their game through him and VJ as they were before. I think they'll heat up, but that's a big if. But what you say in Boston, I'm not. I can't see her and say that that won't happen. I think it very much could happen. So
I think all of it is
I'm not.
possible.
I'm not mad at that.
Yeah,
And
I think
I'll
all of it
probably
is
say
possible.
like the team that I feel like is going to cool down in the West is San Antonio. Like
That makes
we had
sense.
talked about it, I said I feel like this is going to be a situation where they only get up to play the Thunder because they played Thunder and they've dropped. And Thunder dropped some games too, but then Spurs to me just dropped some nasty games and they still got Victor coming off the bench. But to me, I think the Spurs are going to cool down. So hopefully they can figure that out because I'm like, you can't just only be ready to play OKC.
Hmm.
So I wanted to say Denver, but I'm not going to count Denver because of the injuries they have, and I still think they're going to play well.
Ironically enough, I did count Denver.
You did? Okay.
I did count Denver, and I guess I mean to your point, not to be so critical of them because yeah, injuries are
Hmm.
outside of your control, right? It's not like
Yeah.
it's a schematic issue,
Yeah.
but losing Jokic coupled with AG and you still don't have Christian Braun back,
Hmm.
it's a lot,
And Jamal
man. And
Murray
you're
was out. That's what I said. That win, but
like that's a
that win,
lot,
bro.
man.
That win they got against Philly, bro, was huge. Because like, now, what do you think that does for their confidence? It's like,
That's true.
okay, like we only have Joker out for maybe a few more weeks, couple more weeks. Like, let's try to get these. Like, let's really try to get these wins. And so, if you're a team that is thinking, you know what, we can come here, which Philly probably did. We can come here and think they're not gonna win. They're probably gonna steal a lot of games that you probably thought they were gonna lose.
Just off of that mindset alone.
Just off of that mindset alone. So if
Mm.
they keep playing hot and playing confident basketball, I'm like, I think Denver will just stay right there.
Kind of even kill.
Kind of even kill, which is really all I think you need to do at this point in time until Joker and the rest of you guys get back.
Yeah, just steady the ship.
You know.
Just steady
So
the ship. Hmm.
yeah, man, it's gonna be interesting
Yeah, a lot to
time. I
review
know
though.
Trae,
Yep.
a lot to review, man. I think trades are going to start happening. I think once that domino falls for Trae Young, I think we'll start to see
Yep.
the rest of the league start to get aggressive in the trade market. But we're gonna keep an eye on it, man. But I appreciate everyone tuning in to our episode. Please make sure you like, comment, and most definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Please.
But we appreciate you all, and we'll see y'all for the next episode.
All right.